Good to see you again. I'm glad the demonstration went well today. We want to talk all about that and saving the mountain. Right? And so welcome very much to Manhattan Network. Pleasure to welcome you all. And in the audience, welcome. Welcome very much to Conversation. We have three guests today, one of which is an old friend that we're going to talk to in some considerable detail to kick it off. But I do want to introduce everyone first. And if I could, on my immediate right is Carolyn Zolas. And she's the chair of the Watershed Committee for the New York State Sierra Club Atlantic chapter.
Right.
And welcome very much. We're going to be talking about the watershed and water matters and so forth. And
yes.
And I guess it was the Sierra Club that was involved with that demonstration that was done today. We can talk about that?
Yes.
Okay.
We would love to talk about it.
All right, very good. And then on my immediate left is Julia McQuain. She's the coordinator of an organization called Save the Mountain.
Save the Mountain, SaveTheMountain.net.
And that mountain is called?
Belleayre Mountain.
We're going to talk all about
Catskill Park.
And Catskill Park. We're talking about God's country up around New Paltz and Kingston and so forth. And then on my far left here is an old friend of mine. I'm really happy to welcome him back to Manhattan Neighborhood Network. He was one of the really forces in the founding of Manhattan Network back in the good old days, and that's none other than, drum roll please, Dave Channon.
Hey.
He'll be recognized by many of the people here in Manhattan because he was a pioneer in setting it all up. Dave, it's so good to see you again.
I'm so happy to be here. I feel like a homecoming week for the football star or something.
Well, you're the returning homecoming.
They come and they say, hey, the troublemaker's back in
the
town.
homecoming king. You're the homecoming king. Anyway, welcome, David. So it's so good to see you. Welcome back to me. It's so good to talk to you on the telephone. And Karen's going to be in next week, I guess, or next
The reason
tomorrow.
why we're here is for a very important subject that concerns every person in New York City and a lot of people that live all the way up the Hudson Valley, in New Paltz and many other communities that rely on the drinking water that comes from the Catskill watershed.
Ashokan.
Well, it's more than the Ashokan.
More than the Ashokan. That's a big reservoir up
right
there. Yeah, yeah.
But about 9 million people need this water every day to live.
That's a lot
and
of
there's
people.
a terrible, great, scary threat to the water supply, which is overdevelopment, and specifically overdevelopment in the form of a giant golf, double hotel, spa, shopping center, real estate development project called the Belleayre Resort. And it will be, they want to build it on Belleayre Mountain, right in the center of the most important part of the New York City water supply region, between the Ashokan Basin and the Papacton watershed.
Okay. And we're going to be talking to that issue.
Yeah.
And so forth.
Yes.
And you're now living in the Grand town of Shandaken, which I understand has a public access thing going
Well,
on.
I helped to
I might know you'd be
public
up there
access.
instigating.
I
Right?
did
You've always
get
have
public
been
access of the town politics and board meetings and stuff on, and it's very popular, very useful. It's helped our people understand a lot better about what's going on.
Really good. Public access is really important. We welcome you all to the public access realm. Thanks for the kickoff and that kind of thing. Now, maybe you could pick up on what he was talking about, and then we'll get to this, and we'll just... You had a demonstration today down at City Hall. This is the 13th of March, 2008.
Yeah.
How did it go, and what was it about?
Today was the city council hearing for the DEP budget, and that's the city agency that's supposed to take care of our watersheds. So we wanted to go there and let them know that we care about this threat to our watersheds. The Belleayre Mountain drains into the largest reservoir in the Catskill system, and so we wanted to tell them that we got to keep that water pure. New York City water is not filtered. And if the water becomes polluted, we're going to have to filter it. And the cost to do that would be over $20 billion.
Wait a minute. That you said with a B.
B. That's a B,
not
an
M.
M.
That's a B.
That's a B.
That's what Ev Dirksen would call real money.
That's real money.
Yeah.
That's over half of the entire debt of New York City. And already we have filtration east of the Hudson. You mentioned the Croton watershed a little while ago.
I think water comes from Croton.
Yeah, water comes from the Croton.
And
Only
the New York
10%
City
of the
water is been called by one and many the best water in the world.
Yes, it is.
It's
one
really
of those reasons,
great system,
One of the reasons for that is because of all the woods and trees and forests in the Catskills. And if we cut those down and instead put in parking lots, like the Joni Mitchell song,
Put up a parking
Put
lot.
up a parking lot. We will lose our good water, and we will have a debt of $20 billion to $30 billion.
Big time issue. Do we have an idea of what percentage of the water that comes to, let's see, we're talking New York, we have Brooklyn, Queens, and the whole metropolitan area. What part comes from Corolyn, what part comes from Ashokan?
Yeah,
or where, are those the two main sources?
The main sources are the Croton, 10%.
10%, okay.
And the Catskill, Delaware, which is 90%.
Delaware is another thing other than Ashokan and Catskill?
That's right.
Where is that coming in? Down Highway 17 or something? Or
Pepacton.
That's the Pepacton.
That's the third.
It's really all in the Catskill Forest, and we like to say it's the Catskill watersheds together. They come in all in one underground pipe into New York City.
90%.
90%.
It's from there. So that's a thing that we have a considerable interest in.
We sure do.
Yeah, and it's the best water in the world.
It's the best water.
Well, we're already under order from the EPA, Department of EPA,
That's the Department of Environmental Protection.
That's federal.
Yeah.
So we're under a federal order to filter the water coming from the Croton. And that's 10%. And we just heard today they restated the number that they expect the capital cost of just building that plant to be $2.8 billion.
To filter the Croton water?
To filter just the Croton.
Oh, it's not filtered currently?
No.
It must be treated somehow. It can't be just coming right out of the pipe.
Well, they add chemicals.
They add chemicals, chlorine or something.
They're actually blending the Croton water with the Catskill water right now.
Like whiskey.
Like whiskey.
Blended whiskey.
Yeah, they're blending it in there to because the Croton water is a little bit shaky because of so much development.
Yeah.
Because
it's a
well, there's
little bit
more
polluted.
development the closer you get to an urban area, always, isn't there? I mean, that's one of the prices.
But they fell down on protecting the Croton watershed.
Okay.
And that's why we have this problem now.
Protecting the watershed. Yeah.
Because it's the undeveloped land around the reservoir that keeps the water pure.
Boy, let me get it straight if I could. There's a federal decree for filtering the Croton water. What is there in terms of filtering the Catskill water?
The FAD.
What is that?
Filtration Avoidance Determination, which is a legal way of saying you should be filtering it already because the water is beginning to have so much silt that it can't be effectively purified to make it safe to drink.
How long have we been getting water from the Ashokan?
Well, I think it was completed in about 1910.
1910, 1913.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
And they continued building more reservoirs up until the 70s.
And there was no need to filter that because it was pure enough? Is that right?
So good.
What else is done to the water to treat it before it comes out the tap?
They add chlorine.
They add chlorine. They do that where? Where is that done? Is there a big mixing bowl somewhere where it's done?
Treatment plant.
Treatment plant. That's different than filtering. It can't be the filtering just
They usually add it real near the reservoirs. They add it near the reservoir, and then it goes through the pipes and travels to New York. So by the time it gets to New York, you don't really taste the chlorine.
Okay, and is it the Ashokan Reservoir is one?
The Ashokan is one.
Uh-huh.
The Pepacton is the largest one, and that's where the Belleayre is going to drain into.
The Pacton is another one.
That's
what
another
percentage of the water is in the Ashokan? What percentage is in the Pepacton?
Well, the one that we
the Ashokan Reservoir is not being affected by the Belleayre proposed development?
Harold, you're getting ahead of the story.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
You're getting ahead of the story. The Pepacton Reservoir is 25% of our water.
From Ashokan? From
That's
Catskill.
from the Pepacton, from the Catskill.
Just all by itself.
25.
Now, there are a number of reservoirs
of
up
the
there.
total amount coming into New York.
Right.
Of the total amount coming into New York, Pepacton is 25%. And the thing is, a lot of the other reservoirs, such as the Ashokan, already are a little bit polluted. We can't afford to pollute the Pepacton.
That's right.
Polluted. Okay.
No impact in the Pepacton.
Oh, no impact in the Pepacton.
Yes.
You get a
That's
rap
what we said
song
this
out of that,
morning.
couldn't you?
Well, there's a very, very interesting story. For 8 years, the tiny little population that lives in this remote, sparsely populated rural area has been struggling to resist this terrible mega golf resort. And what was originally proposed for two sides of the mountain, half in the Ashokan watershed and half in the Pepacton watershed, originally would have 2.5 18-hole golf courses, 2 gigantic hotels, hundreds and hundreds of timeshares and resorts and shopping centers on a total area of over 2,000 acres. Okay? Now, it received such an awful review, in the first environmental review. The worst environmental review in history.
Really?
12 issues. Say it again. The worst environmental review for a proposed project, and certainly in New York State history. I don't know about the world, but 12 issues were determined to be so bad that they would have to go to adjudication with experts and lawyers arguing, can these things be mitigated to the point where it's safe?
That's quite a distinction. The
Usually,
worst environmental
like
impact
this,
statement in the history of the universe.
If a project got 2 or 3 issues that were important enough for adjudication, that would be considered bad. This one got 12. Pataki, in the last 5 minutes of his term, said, well, you know, I don't think 6 of those issues really need to be adjudicated because I only have 5 more minutes in office. So it was reduced to 6 issues, okay? Then, mysteriously, somehow, our soon-to-be ex-Governor Spitzer got involved, and he felt it was his duty to meddle in the process, and somehow, through backdoor secret negotiations, find a way to get this thing built already. Well, we've got to get this thing built, don't we? No, we don't have to.
You mean the project, the golf course and all, yeah?
Golf courses, hotels.
Well, what about
houses, condos?
I wonder, you went to
timeshares?
Sierra Club. Yeah, well, you went to Sierra Club. Let me ask you a general question. I don't know if it's devil advocate or something. Like we had Robert Moses. We have eminent domain. We have highways. We have. You ever come to Manhattan?
Sure.
A lot of buildings. A lot of environmental. I mean, they used to have a lot of trees on Manhattan. Used to be pristine.
They used to have water.
They used to have water you could drink out of the creek and all of that. So
that's
you've
when
got,
you were a kid, Harold.
You've got the environmental development, the development, human development and interference in natural patterns and so forth. And everybody would like to be, who's in a very pristine setting, would like to have it so that none of that stuff is there, maybe. The developmental process itself is inherently polluting, and maybe mankind is a plague upon the earth in terms of all their technological ability to influence
That's
things.
for next
I'm
week.
not going to go down that road with you.
We're just really a plague in the watersheds, and we don't have to be.
Right. Well,
we can
we're
stop
not a plague in other things. So the philosophical interest. So they're going to build a hotel. They got a hotel on 6th Avenue.
So
they should have that. Are there certain areas
in.
where we can do things? Other areas we'll leave it into Rousseau.
Perfect.
Perfect nature
you know what,
or
Harold,
something, right?
The problem the problem with is what they want to put and where they want to put it, because the hamlets need development. People up there need to be able to work and live in the Catskill and in the watershed. I live in the watershed. I have a home in the watershed. Many do. There are a lot of things we can't do, and we're happy not to do them.
One of the things you can't do is you can't pay a decent round of golf because there's no golf course.
Oh, that's not true.
That's not true.
There's a
plenty
golf
of
course.
golf
There's
there are already plenty of
golf courses in a 50-mile radius.
30 only.
So the question
3
is,
golf
how many do
courses
you need?
right in the immediate area.
Yeah, but you can't gamble and things or whatever
you can
these
gamble.
things.
You just don't have any casinos.
What is it?
You can
This
play cards and
particular
gamble.
project you're objecting to is not just objecting to all progress or all intervention
No, this is
in
not
the natural
progress.
patterns.
This is not
This is
progress.
devolution.
So you're talking about a
Evolution.
project. You're not against the human footprint. You're against this human input.
Like I said,
This is
Harold,
Bigfoot. This
that
footprint
correct?
is Bigfoot.
That's absolutely right.
like I was
Okay.
saying, Harold, it's not. It's what they want to put and where they want to put it.
What's wrong with the golf course?
All right,
I would
let's-
ask.
let's- first of all,
innocently.
golf
What's wrong
courses-
with a
I
golf
like golf
course
courses.
on top of a mountain?
On top of a
Where
mountain.
all the
In the
dirt's
watershed.
going to come down into our
Well,
water?
tell me, what's wrong with that?
Well, those
What's
golf
wrong?
balls will clog up the drain.
Well, they won't.
Harold, are you going to be a devil's advocate, or let's get cracking?
No, but I'm serious though. In a way, what's wrong with putting a golf course on top of
Because
a
golf
mountain?
courses are some of the most polluting, toxic kinds of recreation.
Well, what are you going to do about the 30 that are already there fouling things up? And isn't that
They're
going to
not-
foul up
they're-
the watershed?
They're not in the watershed.
They're not in
She
the
shouldn't
watershed.
be there. They're
They're
not
not
in the
They're
watershed.
not in the watershed.
What is a watershed?
A
You define for
watershed
us what
is
a watershed.
all the land surrounding the reservoirs that give us the water, the lakes and the water. We have surface water in New York. Some cities only go for underground water, but we have surface water, and we have these beautiful lakes in the mountains, and all the land surrounding them is wooded, and that's why New York City has the best water, because we haven't destroyed it yet by development.
This would be a problem in every city. Every city's got to have water. You got to have water.
Have you ever tasted the water in Washington, D.C.?
I've been in Washington, D.C. a great deal.
Bad.
It doesn't taste as good as New York
water.
No,
it doesn't. Then that's because we're drinking rainwater. I just thought that was my New York chauvinism. We're drinking rainwater.
It really is good, particularly in August.
We're drinking rainwater, and the rainwater is then filtered by all those trees and all that undeveloped land, and it sits in the beautiful reservoirs, and then it comes down to the city and out of your tap.
How does Milwaukee? How does Cleveland? How does Detroit? Well, how do all the cities, what about the cities that are in the desert? How do the people of the world handle this thing?
We've
got a perfect environment up there for all this beautiful nature and everything. But what about the world and the problem of the water supply for the people of the world?
You've probably been hearing, though, that clean water, some people say water is the new oil. Clean, pure water is going to be the most valuable, precious resource on the planet very shortly. It already is in many places as we get saltwater inundation in some places.
So all the people of the world,
and desertification in other places.
So then you could say all the people of the world probably don't have water as good as New York water, but it's sort of a thing where we want to keep our good water and we don't care about what's going.
No. I don't think that's right. It's not about we don't care.
Think of what the people have to put up with around the world in urban centers in China and so forth.
Think about
we don't want to get there.
New York City.
We don't want New York to get there.
Well, you don't want to have to be down there with the rest of the people facing the problem of water.
The solution is very simple. Don't provide corporate welfare to greedy developers who propose completely inappropriate projects that endanger the water supply and the welfare of 9 million people, and also on many other levels endanger the way of life of the people that live in the area.
Class warfare. You're against the corporate leaders.
You've heard of the Third World War?
We were just at a city council meeting where 3 members of the city council asked the DEP why they had signed this agreement, why they were having this development when it could cost us $20 billion in filtration. The city council is very concerned about this.
What did they say? I should think they would, because some of that's going to have to come out of their thing, that kind of thing. So it's a big. I didn't mean to get off on this other thing, but the water issue is, like you say,
what was their answer?
Their answer was that they had more important people at the table. And they have felt pressured, I guess. We don't know why they signed it. They didn't have to sign it. They didn't have to agree to it. They could have sat back and waited for the environmental review to take place, which is the proper plan. And then after the environmental review is all over with, DEP decides whether it's a project worth granting a permit to.
I think this would be an excellent time to roll that 5-minute video.
Okay, we got
people can get a visual idea of what we're talking about.
That's probably a good idea.
Hear in their own words. In their own voices from the people that are involved in the project.
Now let's set it up. Tony or whoever's doing it, set it up. And you've put it together. Maybe you could set it up and say, what is it we're going to see?
Well,
it's about 5 minutes long?
In the beginning, you'll see some scenes of the mountain as it is now. All trees. Beautiful, continuous canopy of trees.
Beautiful.
Alternating with some schematics of the proposed resort from different angles. And then you are going to hear from Dean Gitter, who is the project who has proposed the project.
Golf course?
And you will see him speaking in front of a room of about 600 local residents who came to a public hearing to express their opinions. Then you'll hear a little bit from a union representative who will tell you his side of the story. And you'll hear a little bit from one of the PR people whose job it is.
Oh, it's done.
It's rolling. Good. And there's audio with this. It's okay. This part we could talk over.
No, don't. You don't want to talk over it, do you?
This part is okay.
I don't even know if the mics are up. And could you tell them we can't hear it?
That's okay.
Hello. You say, could you signal them we can't hear? Just put your hand up to your ear. Put your hand up to your ear.
That's Belleayre Mountain if we're online.
I don't know if we're online or not.
When I entered the building tonight, I passed by a young man who was standing in the cold and carrying
we're not hearing us, so they're not hearing us. Good.
That said, "Save the Catskills."
Who's that?
Get her.
You got a lot of people there. Where is that?
Ontario High School.
High school. And these are the people who live there.
Yeah.
Now the question is, save it from what? We're all living in the Catskills because we love the quality of life that it presents. We are not going to love the quality of life that we're going to go through for the next year or two if the atmosphere in this room in the last 5 minutes is pervasive through the next several months. We don't have to do this. This is...
He's the director of this project?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's the applicant.
I hate to tell you folks about this project and put it in a good light. You should question what I'm saying. You should question what Gary says tonight. You should question everything that you hear and read and see and have told to you about this project. Let me back up. Why do we need 2 hotels? That's a question that we get a lot. Well, one is designed for the high end of the market, as I said, and one is the middle of the market. Why do you need the high end of the market? I'm in marketing, and I can tell you that the high end of the market drives the market perception. If we were to build another just kind of 3-star nice property that exists, it wouldn't have the splash and it wouldn't gain the attention that's needed for this area to really see any marked improvement in the number of tourism dollars that flow into the area. A high-end resort gets written about in the New York Times. It gets written about in all the travel publications. It gets written about
This is
in
a
Oprah's
one-stop
magazine.
resort.
You're going to be on the Travel Channel, Discovery
Catskills
Channel.
don't get any business out of this.
Listen to me. I'm trying to be nice to you guys, okay? I got a reputation, not good sometimes, all right? But all I can tell you is this. What's fair is fair. The unions support a project that can pass the environmental issues. We've got 2 sides to our coin, all right? Thank you, and if it passes, build it.
Contrary to Project Hype, we are not a poor, downtrodden people needing a night. Needing a knight in silver armor to rescue us from our plight. We do not need to strike a Faustian bargain. We do not need a shining gated city on our ridge.
What kind of bargain?
I see the future of the Catskills as a place supportive of its people and protective of its fragile environment, a place of small and medium-sized industries, of proud, self-employed people, of artists and artisans, of a tourist industry that spreads across the region, not focused mainly on one site, an industry highlighting the history, culture, and recreational resources of the region, protective of the important watersheds and aquifers, a region small in scale, independent and solid.
Look at this.
He's the head guy.
In these objective terms, if you can. But do not, as I heard many people in Margaretville do last week, just make up stuff. There's a lot of substantive information available to everybody. Just try.
Okay, that's it.
Okay,
That was
that's
good,
it.
right?
That's it. Yeah, we had a lot of
You
personalities.
got a picture of what personality.
And that fellow at the end is the main developer. Is
Well,
that
the guy
Main
with the
voice?
white hair is Dean Gitter, and all I can say is he struck a Faustian bargain with Spitzer. It's low people in high places that are playing games with the safety and welfare not only of 9 million people down here, but all of the people that live in the Catskill region.
But didn't you hear the marketers say they got to have the high-end place in order to get the panache?
Yeah,
gotta have a high-end
I'd like to
place.
inject something about that because there was a very interesting official document that came out from the New York State Comptroller. The New York State Comptroller evaluated this project proposal and issued a report in 2006 that questioned the entire financial underpinnings of the project, questioned whether they needed what they said they had to have to be profitable, questioned their promises that there would be no damage to the reservoirs and the land, questioned in particular that it would harm the economy of the local communities. It would not help the economy of the local communities. And that report is available online at savethemountain.net, and we hope everybody will go and check it out.
And that report did not comport with your idea of how you could save that mountain.
It certainly
did. SaveTheMountain.net.
It certainly did. That
right.
Comptroller's report supports everything that we've been arguing for.
That's the Comptroller of the State of New York?
The State of New York.
That's the government interference in the marketplace.
We asked
decisions of the marketers.
During
It's his job to give reports about what's happening.
Yeah, but that's what they call government regulation interfering with the market.
Harold,
because the marketers said you had to have a high-end.
It was no interference at all. It was an analysis of the proposal, and it was done at the request of I don't know who requested it, as a matter of fact, but it was issued by our state comptroller, and we asked during the secret negotiations, there was an agreement in principle that was negotiated behind closed doors in Governor Spitzer's chambers by Judith Enck. The DEP was there, the developer was there, the developer's lobbyist was there, the developer's lawyer was there, other environmental groups were there, behind closed doors, unable to talk about it in public. And we asked during those negotiations over and over that they look at this comptroller's report, that they do a complete financial analysis and really vet these claims and assumptions before they just say, well, the area needs jobs and this will make jobs and therefore that's good. This controller's report questions
Well,
that.
aren't there environmental impact stations studies that are essential to a contractual arrangement for a major project built into the system? Aren't those built into the system?
Because the agreement in principle subverts that whole process.
We haven't actually had any environmental impact statement on this new thing, and yet they got how many people to sign up on it? The DEP?
NRDC?
NRDC, Riverkeeper?
You mean people, citizens, to sign up for an environmental
agencies?
impact?
No.
Agencies.
And NGOs and
compromise.
agencies. They agreed.
With a compromise? What was the compromise? I don't understand.
We don't either. There is no compromise. They took everything that was planned to be built on the east and west sides of Belleayre Mountain, and they smashed it all on the western side of Belleayre Mountain at elevations up to 3,000 feet in elevation, including the golf course. 629 units, 2 hotels, 2 spas, hundreds of timeshares and condos and houses, including houses on the very top of the ridge where no building has ever been allowed, that will be visible from anyone trying to use the forest preserve trails or skiing on the Belleayre Ski Center. And these people, the governor, the DEP, which we really cannot understand and question today at the hearing, NRDC, Riverkeeper, NYPIRG, which is supposed to be in favor of open government and transparency, signed this thing.
The original scoping document. I'm going to cut you off for a second.
Go ahead, by all means.
The original scoping document was an outline of the subjects that would be included in an environmental review. That was, I think, 9 pages long.
Yeah.
We have gone into a second round of environmental review. The first was a miserable failure. Then came the AIP.
When you say we, I'm trying to keep track of
the
you
developer
and
all of the interested parties.
Okay.
Okay. Then the developer, and with the assistance of Spitzer, proposed this AIP, which was a modified project, which is 85% of the original project, and a new scoping document was arrived at to determine what are the important subjects that will have to be subject to the environmental review. The new scoping document is not 9 pages anymore. It's 175 pages long now. So this thing is insane. Insane.
I don't. Well, that's Crazy Eddie.
Yes,
crazy.
Where's Crazy Eddie now that we need him? He didn't jump out of the television.
We ought to get him up there.
It seems to me often in these kind of matters, there's going to be something to do with the people on the developmental side about money. And about
the money. Don't even bring up the money.
That's
this is
going to be
corporate
able
welfare
to be
on a grand scale.
Right.
Taxpayer
There's
money.
a lot. You'll notice you'll notice a lot of corporate money is available to the system.
A lot of state money.
I mean, on a world scale. Yeah.
This is a public-private partnership that will cost the taxpayers of New York State at least $50 million for amenities that New York State will add to the state-run and operated ski area in order to create ski-in and ski-out attractive feature to make, they think, this new hotel successful.
Well, they say, but they must be reporting, Mr. Gittins or somebody, they must have some sort of report. If you're in a business, you're going to make an investment, you have to have some projection, a feasibility study that has one considerable amount of it. You're going to make an investment of $10, you know that it's going to bring in 20 or 30.
The reason why this thing has gotten so far
of how much money they're going to be able to make from it.
It's all smoke and mirrors and a fog.
They haven't made such statements.
No, they haven't made a feasibility study.
No feasibility study.
And a study was made of these types of resorts.
No.
And they found out that these resorts were built to keep people in, to have them shop at their stores inside the resort, to have them eat in the restaurants inside the resort. These people never go out into the actual towns that they're located in.
They don't want to mix with the people.
That's
they
right.
want to stay in their own. There are a lot of resorts that are like that. That's what people want.
So that means
people don't want to mix
resort
with the people. Why would they want to mix with the people?
So the claim,
this kind
or maybe
of
they don't
resort,
want to. Particularly,
this kind of resort would
could
not
be all the shotguns we carry.
not benefit
You've heard of that movie,
Catskills.
Because you're dealing with a small group. If you're dealing with the high end, you're dealing with the super wealthy, the luxurious.
So Harold,
They have different needs.
So Harold, how is that going to benefit the Catskills then?
No, I don't know about benefiting the Catskills. It's going to benefit the producer of the project.
Exactly.
And that's one of the reasons why it's being proposed so vociferously.
Let me give you one more
They can
tidbit.
see a large profit out of that process.
Emily Fisher.
And they've got
Ka-ching.
political people they can be giving money to, like, what's his name? Says the best democracy money can buy. There's people who will put Palace. That they put money in the pockets of the political people and the board, and they corrupt it, and it's all at the benefit of profit.
Extremely well-respected economic analyst.
Are you just voicing some sort of class warfare here against the super wealthy?
You mean the Third World War?
Yeah,
the
that
World
kind
War
of thing.
against the Third
You know what I'm
World?
saying? You're not paying attention to
I'm going
the
to tell you what
needs
John
of the
Alschuler,
aristocratic
who's an
plutocrats.
extremely respected economic analyst, top of the field, respected economic analyst. He said, this resort is very high risk with a long-term prospect for payback if it ever pays for itself.
Really?
And the types of resorts that are more appealing now are the ones that don't destroy the nature that they inhabit. They have a smaller footprint. They allow people to have recreation in the natural wilderness. They preserve the environment. These type of resorts are very cheap to build. They preserve the environment. They have very low risk, and they have a very high rate of payback. Whereas these giant resorts that cost $300 million or more, they still have never announced any hotel chain that has been indicated that they're willing to spend that money to build it. This type of resort development is extremely high risk. It's a real estate scam for selling timeshare units and condo-type real estate development. Just like the golf courses are perks that are added to real estate scams to sell the real estate. And
scam is a loaded word. It's a
scam. It's a scam.
That brings value.
Okay, I'll say scheme.
Scheme.
That's a little less
sensible. First of all, any sensible investor would walk away from this. However, there are two individual people who have been financing the entire thing. Emily Fisher, who some of you may know, and Kenneth Pasternak.
Okay.
Emily Fisher is not a businesswoman. She does sit on the board of the Natural History Museum and Bard College and many other prominent institutions.
Those are prestigious organizations.
Yes, and she's very wealthy, and that's why they like her there.
Yeah.
However, she is not a businesswoman. She needs tax write-offs, and I'm sure spending $4 million on a losing business venture is good for her bottom line.
Perhaps.
The other person
That's
is
why she
Kenneth
might be doing it.
Pasternak,
Yeah.
who is, I hate to say it, very closely associated with Mr. Spitzer, and who was busted while he was the CEO of Night Trading for insider trading, never punished. He got a slap on the wrist. He is the other.
He paid a fine and he lost his trading license.
But he didn't go to jail. Right?
No, well.
Okay, so these are the two single individual people that are bankrolling the whole thing. But that's not the whole story.
Okay.
New York State has been paying probably $1 million or $2 million for the review process so far, and as of 2004, New York City had already spent $600,000 for their end of the review process. These are costs that the developer almost always pays for, and yet no one has asked Mr. Gitter to pay for those costs that are incurred because he has proposed a development.
Do they propose, like often in these kind of things, they propose they're going to create jobs for you poor suffering
300
people?
below poverty
real jobs,
wage
because
working
you've
jobs.
got, you're up there suffering away in your
We're not
cottages and your
suffering. You
bread
saw
and
that
breakfasts.
crowd. They were
And
happy.
you're going to create real jobs
We have
at the
an excellent
casino.
quality
no,
of
but
life.
they're-
Low
they will
average
make
income.
that claim. They will make that claim.
They have
right?
made that
Don't
claim.
most
They have made
development
that
things
claim.
say we're going to bring growth, we're going to bring job opportunity?
Growth like a cancer. Yeah, they'll bring a growth.
Yeah, but some people don't see growth as a
This
cancer.
resort
you
would
know.
draw 300 below poverty wage workers to a remote, sparsely populated rural area that does not have a labor pool, that does not have additional housing. It will create enormous burden on the schools. It will cost the social services dearly to take care of all those people who are drawn to the area, many of whom will have to drive from great distances, increasing the carbon footprint of the resort impact. It's a disaster waiting to happen to the communities in the area, just the same as it happens over and over again in mountain communities across the country.
Why does it happen in other mountain communities? You don't want it to happen in yours. Why is it happening? What is the
Because
track
we're
record
tougher
of such
and
things?
stronger and
in
luckier,
other
and we're
examples?
fighting. We're fighting harder. And we're not stupid.
Or around the world.
We don't
They have
believe
things
they're-
going in
they're-
Dubai that are like that. They got a
Mountain-
Disneyland
Well,
that
they
they're
don't-
building.
they don't have-
All
he's
these kind of
islands
things.
in Dubai.
Yeah, they just
These things are going
It
on
would
by
be
the
better to do it where the old resorts were located in Sullivan County,
Can I make a pitch?
brownfields.
Yeah, make a pitch
because
for the mountain.
we have been working. The people who live up in the Catskill region have been working and fighting about this since 1999.
Okay.
And we have collectively raised and spent more than $350,000 in cash, let alone the pro bono gifts of work and contribution from environmental groups and the great help of Sierra Club, et cetera. But we desperately need help. We need New York City to stand up and say, you can't do this in our Catskill Park and you can't do this in our watershed, and help Save the Mountain or Sierra Club to continue this fight, because this is going to be, it's not stopping, it's going to go on, and we really need the help. You can help by calling your own city council member. It was brought up in city council today. We know city council is concerned about it. If they hear from more New Yorkers that they're worried about it, that will help. If you go to SaveTheMountain.net.
Now let's hold it. I'll hold it up. Go ahead, talk.
If you go to SaveTheMountain.net, you can see all of the official documents here, the link to the DEC's documents.
Got it upside down?
No. He's just moving it around.
Well, why didn't they come in on this
doing
camera?
good.
Okay,
That's
okay.
okay.
Okay, good. Come in tight if you can on it, Kane.
Yeah, SaveTheMountain.net. We also have a lot of photos up there that you can see what the area looks like and why it needs protection. And the reason we haven't lost yet is because we are right. We're right, and they know it. And that's the bottom line.
But we need New Yorkers to tune in to Save the Mountain, send money to Save the Mountain, send money to Sierra Club.
Write
to
letters.
Stop this. Write letters to your councilman, to your senator, to your representative, everybody, because it's an ignorant public that would allow their watershed to be destroyed by this kind of development.
We have a thing, NIMBY, not in my backyard notion that applies to a lot of things that go on in the society. And why should the people in New York City be concerned about what's going on in your neighborhood when they're taking problems with
We're not
what's
asking
going on
them
in
to
New
be
York
worried
City?
about
Why
our
should they
Well,
be
you know
worried
what?
about
It's not in my neighborhood.
It's the water.
I live in the Bronx.
She lives in the Bronx.
But I care about my watershed.
Oh, you're a New Yorker.
And I care about the
You're in New York
Catskills.
City. You're not
I am a
living
New
up there.
Yorker.
So it doesn't bother you if they build a big hotel up there because that's not in your backyard, right?
It's
and that's
right,
the way
except
people think.
Isn't
It is
the
the way
world
people think.
all of
It's
our
sad.
backyards? Don't
Well,
we know that by now?
right.
The world is one big
I
backyard.
would say that there are a lot of influential forces in this world that do not know that.
Right.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you?
I've got two things I want to put in right
We
now.
believe that the world is a village. We believe that we're all connected.
Right.
We're connected to our water. We're connected to the forests that protect our water. And we all need to care about it because if we don't, we're going to lose it. And if we lose it, we're going to pay big.
That's
we're going
really
to pay very
part.
big.
That's part of the mission of the Sierra Club, for
Yes,
sure.
it
And
is,
the people that are
definitely.
concerned with the natural
Definitely.
So
environment.
here's the
Thank
good
goodness.
news. Here's the good
There's
news.
good news.
Yes.
I've been hearing a lot
The
of
good
bad
news
news.
is
Making bad
that they probably, because of the troubles in the governor's house right now.
Well, that's current.
and
He just had
has
trouble
been
with a lady or
the
something.
single strongest ally in keeping this desperately bad thing alive. Okay, it may not go forward, but that's wishful thinking. There will be a long, prolonged public hearing process where everyone in New York City will have an opportunity to write a letter to say, I don't want this type of overdevelopment in the watershed because I think it will endanger the lives and the welfare of 9 million people.
Now,
Okay?
9 million people being down into New York City. And
All of the people
and
that
that's
use
because,
the water now.
Now you're going to do it there because you have a really nice place up there now, bed and breakfasts, and it's really good. And there's people meet around crackle barrels and talk. And, they're really good. And all this urban stuff where they cut themselves off.
A lot of
gated
people love to leave the
It's
city
not for you. A
and
lot
hike
of
in
people
the
don't like.
wilderness.
There are people who like gated communities away from the hoi polloi.
And there's plenty of them.
You know, there's a lot of that.
There are a lot
aren't
of
enough
those.
though. A lot
There
of
aren't
people think
enough
there's not
trees.
enough in your area for the
I'll tell you what, though.
aristocrats to keep themselves a garden.
Oh no, that's
they're
not
happening
true.
in
That's not
Japan.
true.
That's
They're
not true,
happening in-
Harold.
No,
There's beautiful, beautiful mansions. You don't need to spend $1 million on a timeshare. You could buy a beautiful home and a beautiful big property in the Catskills. You could buy 10 beautiful big homes in good condition with beautiful big acreages for what you might get for one Manhattan apartment. Okay? Now, what would you rather
Why are
live?
people in Manhattan? Boy, it beats
Manhattan.
me.
Why?
Why are they all living up there?
I'm glad. I'm glad. Hey, I love
You
New
used
York.
to. You saw the
love
last
New York. I love it.
I love
But
my-
here's the bad news. Even if we do spend 20, 30, 40 billion dollars to filter the
That's
water,
with the B again, folks.
that
Yeah.
silt that is disturbed
From
every
the-
time you cut trees, every time you build a new
The
road, every
erosion.
time that silt is filling up the reservoir. And once the reservoir
What happens
gets
if
full,
it does? What if it fills
the
up?
reservoir will
won't
no
have
Then
longer
you have to
serve
filter
the
the
people.
silt out.
No,
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 you
there
can't.
is no going
They
There's
back.
have
no
to get
fix.
a steam shovel and try to get rid of the silt.
There's
but
no
more
fix,
comes
Harold.
down.
A trillion
This is-
tons of mud
this
will have
is-
to be moved
And this,
somewhere
this,
else.
this silt would go into that water because of the building of that hotel
Because of the
complex?
overdevelopment
Is
and
that
the
it?
cutting down of
Erosion,
trees.
yes.
Yeah, erosion that would happen.
Erosion.
Yeah.
We're talking about mountainsides
Yeah.
and gravity and
Yeah.
rain. And we
Right.
have
We're
more
talking
rain
about-
now than we used to.
Right.
If we cut
Oh,
down
yeah.
all the trees, then the dirt just washes right down the mountain.
That's
into
why
stream.
the Catskill Park was formed, because originally it was all logged over,
Yeah.
and all
It
that
was,
silt came
really,
down,
yeah.
and it silted
Silted.
in the Hudson to the point where there was no navigation possible.
You know, a squirrel at the time of Plymouth Bay Colony could go in a tree in Plymouth Bay and go all the way to the Mississippi River
I met
with
that
coming
squirrel.
to ground.
I talked to him.
No, I mean, there were so many trees. I
Yeah.
mean, it was just so gorgeous.
I
and
want to
everything.
make sure that you
Yeah.
heard his point, though,
Yeah.
about the Hudson Bay and our harbor here in New York City is
Yeah.
extremely important to us for commercial navigation.
Yeah.
The Port of New York and
True.
New Jersey. It was all silted in, Dave was telling you, because all of the Catskill Mountain trees were cut down.
And the Adirondacks, too.
And the Adirondacks.
And that's why those two parks were formed.
Say it again. What was silted in?
the entire harbor.
Well, the
They
harbor.
had to-
New York
Hudson
Harbor?
River.
The Hudson River
The bay.
Harbor, the bay.
That's
so
down
because of
below
that,
us. In the,
yes,
right here.
Because of that.
So they
Filled
couldn't get
with
ships
silt.
up the Hudson.
Because
is
of
what you're
that.
saying.
They couldn't sail
They
in it
had-
anymore because of the siltation.
Really?
It was filling the whole Hudson.
That was-
That's
when?
why
When?
the Catskill Park was made, where the trees
And
were saved.
around
When did
Park.
that happen? When? 1898. They had.
The offstage voice says 1898, and I want to make this point because this is something New Yorkers can be very proud of and don't really know. New York residents, the people of the state of New York, put the Catskill Mountains and the Adirondack Mountains and turned them into great state parks before there was ever one national park.
Is that right? Yeah. So they had that
And
perception.
we have this legacy to pass on that we are endangering every day by allowing dangerous, unnecessary development in these places that we can never get back again. Once they're destroyed, they're gone. Once the reservoirs are silted up, that's not where we're going to get our water anymore.
What would be, this fellow has an idea and the investment they're going to do and everything. What would be your vision for the Belleayre Mountain and for the Catskill Reservoir?
I have an
area?
idea,
What
and
would
I'm
be
sorry
your
if I'm
vision?
hogging the show.
What should it be?
I'll tell you, Harold. Instead of spending $30 billion on a filtration plant, take $1 billion and distribute it to all the people in the watershed in the form of small business grants that do green business, in helping people to pay for their taxes, because sparsely populated rural areas get really hurt. We can't afford our own schools because we have small populations. Pay small business grants to renovate those old boarding houses into beautiful little B&Bs and inns that are in the hamlets in existing locations that have heritage, that have character,
That have infrastructure.
Kinds of things that people really go to the Catskills for. People don't go to the Catskills to see Rodeo Drive style shopping. They go to Rodeo Drive or
a lot of people
Fifth
go
Avenue.
A lot of people go to Orlando's Disney World.
That's okay.
And they
Well,
do.
I'll
They
tell
like
you.
that. Or
I'll
they come
tell
to
you what-
Times
that's
Square.
good.
It's
I'll
like
tell you what
Disneyland
else
now.
we need, Harold.
Yeah, but they don't
We
need
have
it in the
those.
Catskill.
We don't need to put it on a forested mountain.
Okay,
But
that's
I'll tell you what
that's the
else
thing.
we need to
We
do,
can have it
though.
over there somewhere.
There
Yeah.
are places for it.
What else we need to do is to have the city go out and buy the mountains and the forests to protect our water.
New York City.
Yes.
To do that in their own interest.
They're
We're
supposed
already
to do
doing
it.
it.
They're
You
supposed
said
to
again,
do
was
it.
that figure 50 billion? Was that the
No,
figure?
no, not 50
20
billion.
billion.
20 to 30 billion.
20 to 30 billion with a B,
Billion.
B, B, B,
Billion.
B, B,
Like
B.
a Carl
And
Sagan.
by the way,
That's
I don't
what
want to
is-
make it worse, but that is the capital cost.
Then
That
$1 billion a
doesn't-
year
That's
in
not
running it.
So
Okay.
it's not over with once you build it.
And that was $2007, and if the thing doesn't get built
That's right.
for another 5 years, who knows how much it could be.
So where does it all stand now, and what's the outlook?
It's
In
time for the
realistic
people of New
terms.
York City to smarten up about this subject. Go to SaveTheMountain.net, read up on it a little bit, and participate in the public hearing process. We need a tidal wave of letters from people in New York City who say,
Exactly.
no, I think small businesses and hamlets need to be revitalized with economic development, no corporate welfare for the short-term greed of some
Timeshare scheme.
crazy developer who has an awful, awful history of failed businesses that burn. Failed businesses that burn, okay?
You have a different view of
We
development.
know this man.
Yeah.
We
you have
know
a different
this
view of
man.
development, yeah.
Different view.
Than the corporate elite.
I don't think
By
there are
and
many.
large.
No, that's not
no,
true.
No.
and
John
there-
Altschuler is
there
part
are
of the
many
corporate
people.
elite.
Who's
many,
John Altschuler?
As I said, he's the eminently respected economic analyst who said that right now the smart money is going to nature-oriented resorts which do not tear it all down and
I
pay.
think that
golf
has-
resorts are failing.
Yeah, I think that has a resonance in the time of inconvenient truth and global warming
Yeah.
and these kind of things.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Green growth is now on the lips of all our political leaders, isn't it? At least on the Democratic
wonderful-
side.
the wonderful-
And that's a thing that you would favor.
Well,
in
they're
The
terms-
claiming
wonderful
leads.
congressman upstate, Congressman Maurice Hinchy.
Maurice Hinchy's a great, good
The
personal
wonderful
friend
Congressman
of mine.
Maurice
Great
Hinchy
guy.
has facilitated and catalyzed the development of a solar energy incubator, business incubator in the city of Kingston, our first capital in New York.
Yes, indeed.
A beautiful city that you probably scoot past on your way up the thruway, but you should stop and see it.
I
It's
knew
gorgeous.
Kingston well.
Yes.
Used to walk those streets.
Good
well,
city.
when
Yeah.
IBM left Kingston, it had a very bad and sad economic effect.
It was terrible.
It was like all of our eggs were in the IBM basket.
Yes, indeed.
And that area now is going to be turned into a solar energy and green energy incubator. We have several new businesses that are looking at it. One has already moved in. Grants are coming in. That's the kind of thing we should be doing in the cities, in the towns, in the villages,
and
not on the sides and tops of mountains.
And I might say on the planet.
And on the planet.
There's a lot of people who say there's tremendous opportunity for growth. Hazel Henderson said we should bring all of those externalities into account on that the environment matters, that we can't be just raping the planet in order for short-term gain by certain kind of people. And you would generally tie in or relate to that general philosophy rather than the idea that anybody who wants to make an investment in anything that might pollute or anything is okay as long as it makes money for them.
Well, it's very short-term
you approve that kind of a view of the world
you see
rather
what happens
than the one
when you
currently running so much of the
what
world.
happens when you put
You're
all the
revolutionaries
eggs in one
sense.
basket.
And I think we're
troublemakers too.
I think
I
we're commonsensical.
Yeah, and commonsensical.
Harold.
All right. Yeah.
But New York economic development should mean helping the towns, finding ways to live within our environment without ruining it, and not benefiting one developer with a huge project.
Or one small group. Krugman had a thing where the growth from 2003 to 2005, the real growth beyond inflation and everything in the American economy didn't even go even to the upper 5%. It didn't go to the upper 1%. They were just about inflation, but it wasn't a 1/10. It went overwhelmingly to the upper 1/100th of 1% of the population. And those people have things that they want to do. And you would like to put up an alternative to some of their vision.
But we certainly don't have to provide corporate welfare for those people.
But we're doing it now. We have been doing it for a long time. And that's currently
we're calling people's attention to it.
We're trying to alert people that this is not a project that taxpayer money should be going into.
Right.
And our agencies, our Department of Environmental Conservation should conserve, our Department of Environmental Protection should protect, and the public needs to help us. And I want to make one more pitch because this guy here has been an absolute wonderful...
This guy has been helping?
Dave
I can't believe it. I can't believe it.
Channon. Dave Channon is here.
Troublemaker Dave. Gain is New York's laws.
What have I been up to?
I want to say who you're here for. Dave Channon is here representing the Catskill Heritage Alliance. The Catskill Heritage Alliance is a wonderful organization at catskillheritage.org, which is a 501c3 nonprofit, so your tax-deductible contributions are very, very appreciated. And Catskill Heritage Alliance, along with the Sierra Club, the mighty Pine Hill Water District Coalition, the Wittenberg Center for Alternatives, the Friends of Catskill Park have been fighting this fight on everyone's behalf for a long time. We need reinforcements and we need money to unfortunately, this fight is not inexpensive because they throw lawyers at us and we just keep having to raise money.
I would say every dollar that someone in New York City contributes will come back to them 1,000-fold in the not too distant future in costs, unnecessary costs that they will save.
Only 1,000-fold?
1,000 to 1.
Only
that's a good investment.
Only 1,000-fold?
That's a smart.
I see an investment over here which might give me 2,000.
Okay, who's got the calculator? If we spent $300,000 already, and the project is going to cost New York City $30 billion.
Yeah.
So how many thousands is that? 300,000?
I can't do the math. I'm only just a mere mortal.
I'm lost.
I just know it's real money, like Ed
It's got to be 1,000. It might be 10. It might be 10,000.
And you're on the side maybe of the trend because I think the green thing's really beginning to emerge. Don't you think?
Absolutely.
You're in the long-term Sierra person and everything, environmental.
We're into green.
Hazel Henderson, you like?
Sure, we like everybody.
Yeah. No, I can think of a couple investment bankers you might
keep it green.
Or the fellow who the green and the thing that the externalities that usually are put outside of the factoring of economic
these developers are telling us that it's a green development. They're saying they're going to put
They are trying to
green
say
material.
that.
Remember the
Remember they're going to leave a few
dispute
trees.
the facts. Do they dispute the facts about the silt that's going to go?
Yes,
Did they say there's not going to be that
They
much silt, or
dispute
they
that.
could deal with it?
They
like
haven't studied it
coal.
yet.
Should we use coal? Should we sequester the carbon?
They have
Should
not.
we do, it's a big issue.
I don't know the answer
environmental.
to the
no,
coal.
no, it's not outside your bailiwick.
It's out
but
of-
I'm saying
it's out of my
these
ken.
questions are big questions at the presidential level and at
Yes.
the level of how the planet's going to operate. And what is our attitude going to be toward our ability to, deal with environmental issues that are important?
We already know that the world is in deep trouble.
Yes.
We know that global
Right.
warming is accelerating destructive storms, desertification. It's raising the sea level. New York City, Manhattan, will be underwater probably in 20 to 30 years if we don't change the path that we're on. Everyone is alarmed at how much worse the problem is than they ever dreamed. So the only smart money right now would be save those forests, find non-destructive ways to invest your money, and
go fishing.
Yeah.
And go hiking in your state forest.
Yeah.
Instead of getting a heart
New
transplant,
Yorkers had the
go hiking.
foresight. And by the
cheaper.
way, 2 times.
There's a whole philosophy behind what you're saying and the position you're putting forth. Yeah, right.
2 times in our history in New York, developers, it started with logging interests, but it was loggers and miners, mining interests, and then development. 2 times they tried to go to the people they got an amendment through to the Constitution to say, oh, it would be okay to go to cut down some of those trees in that forest. And 2 times the people of the state of New York beat them back, and they defeated an amendment to the Constitution, and they said, no, we want the Adirondack Park and Forest, and we want the Catskill Park and Forest. It was the most foresighted thing that a population of people could do.
Yeah, John Muir was from New York, wasn't he?
Yes.
He was a great
Yes.
environmentalist, and T.R. was a conservationist, and all these issues and all. Well, it's a really important issue, and it talks about big money and everything. I'm really glad you had that demonstration. All the
We are
best
too.
to you in terms of this good citizens thing. I think you're probably on the side of history, don't you? I suppose you feel that way.
Well, we're
And it
doing a
seems
great
to be
job.
that
We're doing better
But
than
you're
anyone
fighting
would have
some
thought.
mighty forces.
We are fighting
You're
mighty
fighting.
forces.
Do you feel
But
David
they're mighty
and Goliath?
stupid, Harold. We're mighty smart.
No, you added that. I was just saying some mighty forces in the forms of like
And they're mighty
capital
greedy.
accounts.
Mighty greedy. Mighty
yeah.
short-sighted.
Yeah, okay.
Mighty blind.
Outside.
And you don't have to be a Sierra Club member. You don't have to be a hiker. You don't have to be a fisher to care about your water
That's
and to care about your future.
No, not at all. I
We
wouldn't
can
think.
live for 2 weeks
Yeah.
without food, but how
And
can
we
live
might have
without
the
water?
ability through good design, some good design and some thinking. Bucky Fuller was a great advocate of that kind of stuff and some of our best minds, and we might be able to have win-win situations, but you got a real situation we should all be aware of. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for
Glad
having
you had
us.
the demonstration that got you into New York City,
you so
down from
much.
the God's country.
And I
Welcome
hope
to
Governor
New York.
Patterson is listening to
Yeah,
us, because I know
Governor-
he's very strongly fighting environmental racism, and this is environmental justice on a grand scale for
Well, as
the whole
usual,
metropolitan area and the Catskills.
David Channon, father of public access here in a very real sense in its modern incarnation in Manhattan, is up there doing his duty up in the wilds of God country. And congratulations, Joe. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much for coming
Thank
in.
you.
Pleasure,
Harold. We
pleasure,
appreciate it.
David.
Great to see
and
you,
I'll
Harold.
give you a quick remembrance. This is
Carolyn Zolas?
Carolyn Zolas with the
Sierra Club. Yeah.
And you are
Julie McQuain.
McQuain of the Save the Mountain Coalition, and you are General Troublemaker
Dave
in God's
Channon,
country.
CatskillHeritage.org.
General Troublemaker for those that are not on the right side of things, I would say.
That's the part of the sentence they always leave off.
Yeah. Pleasure to
Okay.
have brought you all those perceptions. All the best to you. Tune in. We'll come back again tomorrow. That's it for now. Good luck. We only scratched the surface of a huge
I love you.
Wait a minute.
What a great man.
Relax.